should be good to go. There we go. Welcome,
Hi.
Frances. Take us away.
Thank you. Okay. Hi. So my name is Frances Cottam. I'm from the UK, and I'm really excited to say that I became a coach for just yesterday. So really excited. And as there's only a few of us, shall we all just say hello? Unmute yourselves and say hello. So Becky, do you want to go first?
Yes, sorry, I was having to admit and unmute at the same time. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Becky Calling. I am a Google certified coach. I'm also an instructional coach in the Newhall School District in Southern California. So I'm excited to be here with all of you.
Thank you. And Jerry, I can see you there. Would you like to say hello too?
Sure. I'm Jerry Sloan, and I'm not too far from Newhall. I'm in Palmdale. And a shout out to Melissa Shields for inviting me and encouraging me to join. And I'm excited. I'm like brand new, so I'm a little. I mean, I've been reading the book, but I'm a little behind the curve. But I'll catch up. I got a good attitude.
Oh, don't worry about that. Last time I couldn't remember anything. That's why I'm happy to do it again this time. So I just kept forgetting everything because everything was really new to me. So it was quite a lot to take in. So really excited this time. And I've been getting really excited about what I've been reading in the slides. So that's great. So thank you, Jerry. Kim, would you like to go next?
Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Brown, and I am a high school library media specialist in North Reading, Massachusetts, which is north of Boston. I am Google certified level 1 and 2. Just did that through Global Gag. Thank you, Global Gag. And yeah, so I'm excited to be here and be working on Coach next.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Melissa, welcome back. Do you want to say hello, Mrs.?
Yeah. Yeah, Jerry and I were just talking earlier. She said, how did you get this stuff on your calendar? And I'm like, I have no idea. I can't remember. I don't remember how I got connected, but I sent her the link and said, well, we'll just try it. And same thing as you, Frances. I went through I think I missed the very first session the first time around, but I gather little bits and pieces, and if I can apply what I can, but I miss a whole bunch of stuff. So that's why I wanted to come back through this and learn. And I knew new people would be here so that I could just gain different insights from what everybody has to share.
Yeah, that's great. And I was reading your comments in the slide and it made me smile because it just made me think of me because I just forget everything as well. I think it's my age. Thank you. Okay, and then so we're going to Priscilla. Is it Priscilla?
Hello.
Hi. Did I get your name wrong? Sorry.
Technically, you pronounced it correctly, but a lot of people just call me Priscilla, so either way. So I'm a technology integration specialist in a whole school district. I work with K-12 teachers, and this is my first time around, so I got the book. I started reading it. I opened the slides, and I was like, there was questions? Oh, no. So I introduced myself in the slides, but I have to go back and read everyone's insights. But yeah, it's been a really nice read. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to use highlighters in this book. I never use highlighters. So I'm pretty excited. I'm Google certified 1, and I'm working on the 2, and I'm working on the coach at the same time, just to kind of just save time.
That's what I did as well. Yeah, it's kind of good like that. Yeah. Good, excellent, thank you. Thank you. Roxy, do you want to say hello? I've been reading all your slides, really interesting.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. So I'm Roxy, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I am an ed tech specialist, and I'm so excited. I've never done a book study like this with people like not in the room with me. So I got this book, I think a couple of years ago. Jenny McGarrow was at like an ed tech conference, and she did the keynote, and it was amazing, and I was like all in tears. And then I started reading it, and I can still see where I underlined things, but I then fell off, of course. So I'm super excited to read it with other people because I definitely feel like I'm engaging and digging deeper because there's other people that I could read their comments. So super excited. I am Google certified level 1, 2, and trainer. And so I'm just working my way through the coaching curriculum right now.
Brilliant.
So
Thank you very much. Thank you. Excellent. And then we've got Stephanie. Stephanie, would you like to say hello?
Hello.
Hi.
I may be in and out. I'm actually I'm actually doing our after school program. Like I hear a kid calling my name right now.
Okay.
So I may be in and out to check on the kiddos. I'm an instructional technology coach, and I am in South Carolina. And I'm just getting started with the coaching curriculum. So I'm excited to kind of learn about it and hear other people's takes and perspectives as well. I don't know what to do.
Brilliant. Thank you. And then Catherine, I think we missed you first time around. Catherine, have you just arrived?
Hi, sorry I'm running late. So I missed is what I'm supposed to be introducing, but I'll just do a quick introduction. I'm a former third grade teacher turned technology coach this year. So I'm just working my way through the coaching curriculum. I'm probably a little over halfway through, and I've just really been enjoying it. And we've got 2 other instructional coaches in my district. One is more special ed based, and one is more just in the curriculum side. And I'm really pushing for them to go through this curriculum too, so we can kind of have that team approach to it. We're all just at the district level. So, but I'm excited about it. And I actually just got my book, so I have not done any reading in it yet. So I'm a little behind, but we will see.
Yeah.
I appreciate you reading this.
Okay, perfect. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, I don't think, have I missed anybody else? I think I've got everybody now. I think we've heard everybody. Okay, so shall we get started? I know that there were a couple of questions in the slides that people wanted to look at specifically, but are you okay just to start with the first question and work our way through? If you agree, just type yes in the chat. Yeah, okay, brilliant. So we'll start with question 1 then, and we'll work our way through. So I don't know if you can see the slides on your screens, but I've got the questions somewhere here. So the first question was the question about sharing a time when you had to be courageous and what made the outcome memorable and how did it help you to grow in your role? So is there anybody who would like to volunteer to talk about that? I know there's some really interesting answers in the slides. Would anybody like to volunteer?
I'll volunteer. So she says, I had to stand up for our inquiry-based curriculum during a time in staff meetings, during a time when everybody was so worried about test scores. And we were an IB school. And I said, wait, you guys, we're supposed to be doing inquiry and curiosity. And if we revolve everything around test scores, then we're not going to get anywhere. And of course, everyone just looked at me, blankly and moved on. But I felt good for standing up against, the deadlines and the data with what I thought was good for kids. And I continue to do that. So she says.
Yeah.
That's my story.
So important. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, I hear you on that one. I can, often standing up for things like that. Brilliant. Anybody else got any questions or anything to add to that or anything different? If I pick on...
Oh, sorry. I typed on the slide about 5 years ago when I was in the classroom. I had a group of first graders and I was introducing coding. And so by the end of the year, I signed us up for this online conference. So it was actually me presenting, but the students as well, which actually ended up being flipped. They ended up presenting and I just kind of supported. And before we actually did the presentation or the online conference, I asked the students, who wanted to do the question and answer session. And again, these are first graders. And I had a few volunteers. I had, my one that I picked who I knew could answer the questions, and then 2 true volunteers who I wasn't really sure about. And when they did the conference and they were able to answer questions, I was looking like, who are these kids? But I was so proud of them. Like, even to this day, like 5 years later, I'm still beaming because I'm so proud of the work that they did.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it makes you feel so happy inside, right? Yeah, love that one. Let me think. Roxy, you had some things to say in the slides on this one, I think.
Yeah, mine was a little more just like a stage fright kind of thing. But I had shared that when we first went virtual last spring, and we decided we were going with Google Meet for all of our teachers, our little ed tech team, which is like 3 of us, had to train everyone. And I was still pretty new with my first year last year, so most people didn't know me. And so my supervisor decided I was going to lead those sessions, and I was super nervous. But yeah, I mean, it went really well, and I think it was a really great experience, because then people knew me and they actually started like emailing me and reaching out to me, and like I was like a person they knew they could ask questions about. So it was really good, but it was initially terrifying for sure.
Yeah, I get that too. Brilliant, thank you. How about Raf? I'm not sure. I think you've just arrived, Raf. Have you got anything to add or any questions? Just check it in. Okay, no problem. Stephanie, we've heard Stephanie. Kim.
So this is probably a good example of imposter syndrome. So this was quite a while ago, but I had gone back to grad school. I was an adult who had a son who was in his late teens, and I had been in the working world, but I hadn't been in the ed tech world per se. And so I graduated, got my certification, was working in my first school, and a teacher had passed away like 5 years prior to me being there. And they thought, oh, library media specialist, she'll be really good at technology. So they were having a memorial service for her, and immediately asked me, we'd really like you to put together the memorial video. So I was terrified because, I had worked with Camtasia, but on a limited basis. And now suddenly I was putting together a video for, somebody who all I had were teacher memories and things that kids had posted to this woman's website. And yeah, so it all worked out, but clearly I felt like I was way out of my league, and I couldn't tell anybody like I'm in over my head, because
really, really challenging. Yeah, my God.
Yeah.
But you felt good afterwards.
I did. I felt really good. I was like, okay, so I guess I can put myself out there when asked. I wouldn't have volunteered for it.
Brilliant. Well done. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to? Oh, welcome, Mohammed. Would anybody else like to speak or answer any questions on that question before we move on to question 2?
I just have to say, I love that all of these experiences are coming from completely different areas in education. Like, it definitely shows that we can be courageous and kind of make that impact in so many varying ways, whether it's your first grader speaking up or writing a memorial for somebody you've never really met. So I think it's really cool. And I think that this happens a lot, where we're constantly put in roles to be courageous, and it's just kind of how we respond and react to it. And so I'm excited to be here with all of you. This is fun and great to hear.
Yeah, and so diverse. It's just really, really diverse. And for me, everything is new because it's coming from the other side of the world. So everything's really, really new. So it's great for me. Thank you. Everybody happy to move on to question 2 then? So question 2, what are some of the misconceptions surrounding pedagogy and technology integration? And how can we help education leaders to understand these better? I think that was the question.
I'll kick this one off with a fun moment that I've recently had in my role, where where a colleague told me tech's really not my thing. So I've given up on it. I'm not going to focus on tech at all. I'm good at the pedagogy. You can take care of the tech, and I'll take care of pedagogy. And I was like, you do realize, like, these two are now hand in hand. We have to merge and marry the two and become comfortable with both. And we're 100% virtual. We have not been back since March. So huge misconception that they can live in their own worlds. They must somehow become married or merge or something along those lines. It is no more of just, oh, I've got the pedagogy and the content. It's, you have to bring them all three together.
Yeah, and you can't even survive without the tech at the moment. Yeah, in my school, it's just about, for most of my teachers at the moment, it's just about surviving. So the pedagogy, they've already got that, they think, but they really need the tech to survive. So yeah, misconceptions. So I'm just going to talk about my manager. When I told her I was doing the Google coaching course, her misconception was that we would be just focusing on the tools. And I was like, no, that's not what we're talking about. So I just wondered if anybody else had anything similar to that, or just looking now for her.
Melissa's got her hand up, and I think Priscilla, I saw your hand up too for a second.
I can't see any hands up on my screen. That's really weird. I'm really sorry.
No,
Melissa.
I'll keep track of it because I think it pops up for me.
Yeah, I can't see anything. I'll try and get rid of that.
So let me look at the question. There was 3 parts to that question. So one of the things that we've noticed, and Jerry can probably back me up on some of this, I'm going to go to the last question first, which was the how can you help education leaders better understand? A lot of times we'll have some of our upper admin will maybe hear a speaker and they talk about the latest tools, and then they come at our boss, the technology coordinator, and they ask her, hey, you know, I saw this tool. Can we buy this for our district? Hey, I've seen that tool. Can we buy that for our district? And she's like, hang on, why? What do you want to do? What goal are you trying to meet with the kids? And so sometimes the principals and some of that upper admin, they just see the cool new tool and say, hey, how can we make this tool work? Whereas my boss, who really gets it, and we try to, you know, help and assist with that, is, hang on, what's the goal? What's the learning outcome? If there's a tool that will make your job easier, we are more than happy to explore that. And as long as it's, you know, protecting our students and their privacy, we are more than happy to explore and see how we can help. But I think that's the big misconception, is that some of the other upper admin tend to want the latest and greatest thing because, hey, now we're hip and we're using this thing. And they do care about kids. Don't get me wrong. They absolutely care about kids and what's best for them. But they kind of, I think they get kind of caught up in it sometimes. And luckily our boss kind of reins them in and says, okay, hang on, what's your learning goal? We probably already have a tool that does that. Let's not look at buying something new when we already have stuff that will meet that goal for the students and the teachers.
Yeah, thank you. Brilliant. Really interesting. Roxy, you had your hand up as well. Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah, just kind of going off what Melissa said, I think the thing that we're struggling with in our ed tech team is that, like for example, they're trying to decide if they want to buy like an LMS right now, right? Or if we're going to stick with just like a Google Classroom or purchase something major. And we keep trying to say, like, we need to have conversations, bigger conversations about, like, what do we believe good teaching, what do we believe learning looks like? What does that feel like? What does it sound like? And then let's pick the thing that matches, you know, what we're saying we want to see in classrooms. Whereas because those are very difficult and kind of messy, they're kind of like, well, we just need to pick something and then we'll figure that out later. And that's really, I think, frustrating for those of us that, like, understand that, like, when you buy a certain thing, there's going to be some natural effects, and it's going to, you know, affect the way teachers teach, right? If it's easy to pump out digital worksheets with this particular LMS, they're going to pump out digital worksheets. And it's like, is that what we're saying we want our teachers to be doing? What are we saying we value? So that's a challenging area. I feel like that we're still, like, trying to kind of get through to people, because we're not talking about the really big meaty questions first. And I think it's because those are hard, and, like, it makes people uncomfortable, I think, sometimes to have those conversations. It's easier to pick a tool, you know.
Yeah, and often our admin, our managers, they don't have the answers to those questions, and they don't necessarily want to listen to our answers, right? But yeah, those big conversations, really, really important. Thank you.
That is frustrating. I agree, because there's no common goal. There's no understanding at the administrative level of what we're really trying to get to. I love the way you worded it, Roxy, because it's so frustrating because we keep running into the pedagogy versus technology because there is no common vision or understanding in language.
Yep, definitely. Definitely, but we keep working at it, right? Did anybody else have their hand up? I can see Roxy's hand was up. Has anybody else got their hand up? Stephanie's saying very true. Anybody else got their hand up?
I did, Priscilla. So with the LMS part, Roxy, we had Seesaw for years, and we still do. And the teachers were told they have to use it, like prior to pandemic. So what they would do is just take a picture of your worksheet, send it to your parents, just take a picture. Like, that's what I came into, seeing a bunch of just pictures on Seesaw, and that was it. But the pandemic really like pushed these teachers to, now we have to marry that pedagogy into the tech, or we're gonna lose the pedagogy. So it's been like, I'm just glad there's two of me. My counterpart is not in the book study, but there's two of us for the district, because like it was some intense job security, because like having to teach everyone how to do this with Seesaw or Schoology. We have Schoology for olders, but it's just not having it just be take a picture, do a digital worksheet, having a whole other level to it. And some of the teachers I'm working with, they're going above and beyond learning these tools and how to marry the pedagogy and the tech, and it's really nice to see.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Really sounds really good. Have I missed anybody else? Anybody else got their hand up? I can. No? So I'll move on to question 3 then. So question 3, I'll move on to the question, which is question 3. So question 3 was, how do we encourage colleagues to set sail and begin their journey? What other compasses or strategies could you use to do that? And we had lots of interesting comments in the slides. Would anybody like to start us off on that one?
I feel bad talking 2 times in a row.
No, it's good. We want to hear everybody.
But like, I was just, it's small, but just with our teachers, just the baby steps. Like, I have teachers, they're like, they give me an agenda of like 12 things they want to do all over the place. And I'm like, okay, we need to step back. Let's pick your top 3. Let's work on that. Just small sail. I don't even know, a small route. Journey to the kitchen from your living room instead of the other city.
Definitely. Yeah. Really good small steps. And Jerry's making some comments in the chat. Would you like to say anything, Jerry?
Well, I was really commenting on the book that
Becky was talking about. Yeah,
that Becky was talking about. But at the same time, I think that Melissa and I probably been focusing a lot on just a little simple need of our teachers to free them up. And the advice we got from our other coaches was, first make the teacher's life a little bit easier, and then, give them that tool. And now they start to creep forward. And of course, it's so sad when we do get all these tools and we give them trainings and then they never really use the tool or adopt it. But, trying to slow them down to actually use the tool properly sometimes, I think that's helpful.
Yeah. Definitely.
You just hit it spot on right there. Like, how can we support teachers and take something off of their plate or show them that we're not one more thing? Because that's often what it runs into, is like, okay, you're supposed to help me change my world, basically. Like, and then they come at you with that list of, well, I need to change this. I need it more engaging. I need my students to turn their cameras on. I need my students to complete their work on time. I need to differentiate. And you're like, OMG. So yeah, time out. And so it's all about like, where do we start small? And then we have to celebrate those small little wins. I mean, it's everything from, hey, do you need me to quickly put this together for you? I have a little bit of time. And they see that and they're like, okay, yeah, you're really not here to add to my plate. You really are here to help out. it's been working, not every time, but it's been working little by little with the teachers I'm supporting.
Yeah, thank you. Roxy, did you have something to say on that one? I know you've written quite a few things in the slides, which were really interesting.
Yeah, I on the slide I had mentioned, I really like the Gripe Jam activity. And I had never, I mean, I'm sure I'd seen it the first time I browsed the book a couple of years ago, but I'd never actually seen it in action until we tried it at the open chat session. And I really enjoyed it. I think it would be a really helpful way to get teachers to kind of focus in on something small and achievable. So I would really love to try that. The thing where I struggle is when teachers reach out, and I get a lot of, because we have Pear Deck, and so I get a lot of, oh, I saw another teacher, take a snippet of a worksheet and then put it on their Pear Deck. I would love to do that with my students. And I have an inner struggle because I want to be helpful and I don't want them to feel judged, and I know they have a million things to do. So I want to help them solve that immediate problem, and I have trouble figuring out when's the right time to slip in the hey, you know what else we could do? Because sometimes I feel when I take that one little step, that's when they kind of freeze up because they realize I'm about to ask them to do something that's going to take more time, or I'm suggesting something. So that's where I'm trying to navigate, when's a good time to make that little shift towards here's another way that you could do that that's not making a digital worksheet. So
yeah, and I think that's been even harder during the pandemic than it would have been during normal times, because the teacher's just struggling to survive. So we've just got to do everything we can to save them time and help them out, really. So that's been a really difficult balance I've found. Yeah, I would agree totally. Elizabeth, did you have any? Go on.
I was just going to say, for me as a coach, one of the things that I have to kind of watch myself with saying is, oh, that's so easy. I have to stop saying that because, something that might be easy for me may not be easy for somebody else. And if they don't get it the first time, I don't want them to feel like I should have gotten that because she just said it's so easy.
Yeah. I have to be really careful of that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, else they don't come back to ask anymore. Yeah, thank you. Elizabeth, did you have something to add to this? No, maybe not. How about Catherine? Have you got? Would you like to add anything to the conversation at the moment? No.
For us, I think this year it really has still been a lot of that tech support and taking off of plates instead of putting back on. I'm finding that our district they did 2 days of remote learning right before Christmas break, but we had been in person for the majority of the time prior to that, with a separate virtual academy going on. And it seems like since we came back from Christmas break, everybody's just, they feel very comfortable with where they are, and nobody's really looking to add or learn at this point. We're just kind of status quo, but tech support here and there. So I'm kind of struggling with what my role really looks like right now. We need to be getting into the pedagogy since everybody's feeling good about the tech support pieces, but it's just kind of at a little bit of a standstill, I think.
Yeah, but that's really positive that they're feeling good about the tech though now. That's a massive achievement, right?
They did 2 days of it and it went okay. So I don't know that we're necessarily where we need to be, but we'll but hopefully we won't end up virtual again. So
yeah. All these challenges. Yeah, thank you. Brilliant. Mohammed, are you still with us? Would you like to add anything, or are you still just listening? Okay, if nobody's got anything else to add, then we'll move on to the next question. I'll give you another minute. Okay, so I think question 4 is the one that everybody was very, very interested in. And it was about the using the TIM models and the SAMA models, I think. as compass frameworks. So I would be really interested to hear what you've all got to say about these, as these were totally new to me when I first started the coaching curriculum. So who was it in the slide? Melissa, would you like to kick us off with this one?
Okay, did I write something? I don't even remember.
Just wondered what experience you've got using either of the models, if you're using them with your colleagues, your staff.
Actually, when we were face-to-face, we used to do Chromebook academies. We became a one-to-one district, and everybody had Chromebooks 2nd through 8th. We're a K-8 district. And we did cover SAMR, letting the teachers know that, hey, you rotate between these levels, you sometimes you need substitution. It wasn't really like a ladder, like the bottom rung versus the top rung. You don't start at S and then only live in R. We talked about how you live somewhere in between, and each part of that, it depends on what the need is. If you're learning vocabulary, if you're doing practice, maybe you hang out down on the substitution level. Especially when you're learning new bits of the tool. But we actually, at least I can't speak for all of us, but, and there are 4 of us, Jerry, myself, and 2 others. But we tend to focus, I think, a little bit more right now on the 4 C's, is where we are focusing our trainings and our conversations with other teachers, just so that they can kind of see the goal of it, not focus on the technology bit so much. I think we're really trying to move back towards the pedagogy, and we were going to try and do the I don't know if I'm familiar with TIM. I knew I'm not even sure what TIM stands for. I was thinking T3, but that's different.
So the Technology Integration Matrix is what it stands for. Is anybody more familiar with using it?
Is that the rubric that we have?
Yes, it's one of the ones. Yeah, it's one of the ones.
Oh yeah, I'm just looking at that because I wanted to integrate it in I'm trying to figure out I'm starting a new coaching cycle with it. I've already done one coaching cycle with it, so we're looking to kind of evolve that into a little bit more in depth. So I am taking a look at that, but I didn't have experience really using it.
Has anybody else tried it yet? Or used it for themselves about their own practice, teaching practice?
It's definitely a rubric. In all honesty, I find both of these to be evaluative and not supportive in like the how. So it's a great way for you to look at something and say, where is it? But like, how do you get there? How do you move up? And other than, well, I'm not here, so I guess I have to change it to get here. So I did put in the chat, I don't actually use these unless a teacher specifically brings them up. We find other ways for the how, but TIM is nice. It is a rubric. It's going over like multiple areas of integrating technology, and then you kind of pick where you're at. But Melissa's spot on. Every lesson, like you're not going to be completely recreating your lesson, and not every lesson needs to include rigorous technology. Some lessons are just practice, and some lessons are honestly meant to be paper, pencil, because that's what it calls for. So you don't have to memorize it. I personally don't think you have to memorize any.
No, I didn't memorize it, but when I was going through the coaching curriculum, because it was new for me, and most of my teachers weren't very familiar with tech, I used this more for myself, for reflecting about my own practice, and then that kind of made me realize that I still had loads of things that I could be doing and changing and improving about what I was doing. And then I guess I kind of, things like collaborating and some of the elements I took and I added them to forms, self-reflection forms for some of my teachers, those who were more confident. And then they kind of, without us really talking about it, they started pushing themselves more towards collaborative ideas and practices. But I didn't use it with those teachers who were really new to tech at all, because I think it just they wouldn't have been able to cope with it at the moment. So, but I found it interesting, but there were lots of people in the slides. It was things that they were really, really wanting to talk about tonight. So I just wondered, How about you, Catherine? What do you think?
And just so you know, too, we've got Jerry and Roxy with hand up. It only shows up on my end. I wish it showed up for everyone.
I can see Roxy's hand now, but I can't see anybody else. I'm really sorry. Go on, Roxy.
Oh, I was just going to say, so we created a whole bunch of lessons as a district, like when all this first happened. And we had these teams of teachers that just tried to crank out enough lessons that all of our teachers could use, which on the one hand was very nice. We knew we had teachers that were just completely lost about how to design online. On the other hand, it meant we created a lot of digital lessons that don't necessarily reflect a real well thought out or well planned online design of any sort. We just kind of crank things out. There's a lot of snipping of worksheets, and there's just a lot of questionable things that wouldn't necessarily in a normal time be how you would show someone how to design. So our worry was that this is the first interaction a lot of our teachers have with digital lessons, and now they think this is what a digital lesson looks like. So we were going to try to use SAMR as a way to be like, hey, you know, we were in this situation. A lot of these are just substitutions. That's what we had time to do. How can you now think about how to take these lessons and, you know, ramp them up or improve them, you know, to use in the future with your students? We started planning a SAMR lesson and then kind of got pushed back because principals felt like it was another thing the teachers would have to learn. And we were trying to explain, well, it's what they're doing, but I think there's just a lot of misunderstanding, you know, around what SAMR is. And so we're still sort of trying to find an in to at least having a common set of like languages or way to talk about, you know, how the lessons we have can still be used. We're not holding them up as like models of like, you know, great online design, and we don't want to insult anyone that made them. People like, you know, put in time to make these things, but just the idea of like bumping them up a little bit, you know, for their students. So
yeah, that's something that I'm really, really struggling with, is that my teachers are asking me to show them how to make worksheets, and it's really not something that I want to do, but that's the way they teach, and that's kind of accepted by our admin. So I feel sometimes like I'm swimming against the tide, and that's kind of really hard. And yeah, so completely commiserate with you there. So Raf, go on. You had a comment in the chat. Would you like to say any more?
Yeah, I only get SAMR through in personal coaching. It's very weird, but the policy is just go face to face. And now in COVID, we're in Belgium. It's a big crisis here. And well, they just try and there's no policy, and that's a big burden for me. I can only give my coaching in private, one-on-one, and that's it. It's a big problem.
But you're a coach in Belgium. Is that unusual?
That's my job.
Yeah. No, sorry, I was working in Belgium last year, the year before last. So that's not. I didn't know that you had in schools coaches. So I thought it was like a new role. So very impressive, actually, that you have the role.
Yeah, I'm actually in vocational training. So
okay.
I'm not in a school, but vocational training.
That explains it, yeah. So so you were saying that you don't really get to do groups, or there's no policy. You're just coaching one-to-one and pushing against the tide, just you on your own coaching.
Yes,
yeah.
and just for fun, I have a Google Classroom for the ones that want to go with me. I have 410 instructors now in my Google Classroom, and I post things like this and other educational tips every day, questions, and I try to keep the wave going. but it's hard.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard, but you're doing a great job. You're trying. You're doing. Thank you. And Jerry's in the chat. She's saying that's not hard not having a policy. That's hard not having a policy. Go on, Jerry. Would you like to say any more about that?
Oh yeah, it's
thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
When you don't have a policy, and I think that's what we've been. We have a wonderful boss, as Melissa said, and 4 of us as coaches for our we have like 20,000 students, I think. But it's really hard when you don't have that firm, direction from above. So when we meet with our teachers, we start out with SAMR, which made it a little easier for them to understand, I think, because it was really basic, kind of goes along with DOK. But I really like, I like the TIM, which is kind of new for me. And TPAC and T3 were pretty nice too. And I like the idea of putting it in a Google form, which I think Melissa started. That's a great idea to kind of focus the questions, because it can be a little overwhelming looking at those rubrics if you sit there with another teacher. Most of my teachers don't really want to fill out the formal paperwork. They just want a quick, like, how do we use this? And they'll sit with me for an hour even, but they don't want to get, they don't want to write things down or have to fill out forms. So trying to get them to go from SAMR into a more specific rubric, and then maybe even agreeing on one for our district that, because there's more than one of us, that we can, focus our efforts in, would be great.
So you would like to have one? You would like to have a rubric and a policy that people use?
It'd be nice to see the focus on saying, look, this is important, and this is where we're heading as a district, and we want all the teachers to just think about it as you're planning your lessons. Let's do the 5 E's. Let's do it around like a hyperdocs kind of a setup, and don't require it. I love having the freedom as a teacher, but if we had that kind of a singular vision of where we're headed, because something like TIM or even TPAC does put that focus on deeper learning. Yeah. And as a teacher, I need to focus on that. Like, oh yeah, how do I deepen that? And try to make it go up on that scale of whether it be Webb's depth of knowledge or whatever it is, right? Just making those connections. I think it's great if people can stop for a minute, reflect, and make those connections. I think that would make life a lot easier. I mean, SAMR is pretty simple. That'd be great, though.
Yeah. So we're all saying similar things, really, aren't we? Yeah, I think I can see that totally in my situation. That's similar to Raf's as well. Yeah, thank you. I'm seeing if anybody's got their hand up now who I can't see. Roxy's making a comment. Go on, Roxy. What would you like to add?
Oh, no, I was going to say the part where I get worried, and I think Jerry said something about that, is there's sometimes a tendency here when you suggest something and someone grabs a hold of it, that it turns into this like checklist, and then everyone's walking around in classrooms like looking for these things. Yeah. So I feel like we have to be really careful when we introduce these tools to make sure that we emphasize this is one, SAMR is not the only thing out there, not the best thing out there necessarily. So this isn't something that we want to require that every single person has to learn and memorize and put on the wall and, refer to in their lesson plans. So I think that has a tendency to happen when like someone in a district grabs a hold of it and likes the way it looks on like a checklist somewhere. So. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I really liked about this Google Certified Coach program curriculum, that you could follow it and make it fit your needs for your environment. It really worked for me. And I think because we were all virtual, I really had to be really, really flexible to start with and deal with like well-being issues and all sorts of things that didn't really have any relation to either tech or pedagogy, but you just have to do it to build those relationships. So yeah, when I first started the curriculum, I was just like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense. It fits everything. I just love it. And it was just really, really, so yeah. Thank you. Do we have anybody else who would like that I have missed or would like to comment now? So that's Priscilla. Go on, Priscilla. Oh, Priscilla, would you like to?
Oh, sorry, my husband's cooking dinner.
Sorry.
So, because I was using all the pretty colors highlighting, to the point that like I have to not highlight the whole book. But like the section on page 11 that's like reflect, don't evaluate, that you're not taking, just like Roxy said, you're not taking any of these frameworks, TPAC, TIM, SAMR, any of them to make it some type of like tech plan we need to evaluate, it needs to be part of are you going to be highly effective with this? It's a tool like everything else. A pencil is a tool. It's just how the teachers are integrating into the classroom. And you're not just using an iPad, just to use an iPad. And that was a big thing when I started teaching. Like I got a position. I was a tech teacher. What is a tech teacher? You teach typing. You teach them how to do a Word document. Like, I'm like, that's it. Like, then I did coding, and then I did like a little makerspace. We did stop motion. Like, I took it to a whole other level because there was no curriculum, but I still had to get evaluated. But I didn't have any type of like framework being part of my evaluation. And I think it would deter teachers from integrating tech if they were getting evaluated on it to a certain degree.
Yeah, totally. I currently had to have a bit of a battle with my admin because I have to do observations at the moment while we're online, and I've kind of had to really change the way they wanted me to write up the reports because I don't want to be evaluating people, and that kind of went against everything that I've worked to build the relationships and everything. So yeah, it's not good at all, right? People need supporting. Thank you.
And then unfortunately, it can work the opposite way too. I work in a building, so we have 3 coaches in the building, 1 reading coach, 1 math coach, and then technology coach. And of course, reading is important, math is important. Oh, and then there's that technology thing. So because it's not evaluated, nobody really feels compelled to kind of grow themselves with technology. They focus more on the reading and the math, which we should all, in my opinion, we should all be integrated. You know, when you're doing the reading coaching, I should be there too with technology, the same with math.
Yeah, I think that's a struggle that lots of teachers have, teaching subjects that aren't considered to be serious subjects, right? Yeah. Melissa, did you have something to add? I can see you in the chat.
I was just saying that you guys are talking about the checklists and, you know, being a former, you know, GATE student, and this is how you earn your A, and here's the checklist, and if you do all these things, you get your A. So I kind of lived for checklists, and Jerry knows because I'm so detail oriented, and thankfully she's so big picture that we really balance each other out. But you know, if I have my checklist, I go, okay, did I cover this? So I'm hearing you guys say some things in this meeting, which is making me feel a little bit more relaxed, is that, you know, I'm getting ready to start my 2nd cycle with this one teacher, and I'm like, okay, now we're going to start the 2nd cycle. Do I start over with the gripe jam? Okay, now I didn't use these forms the last time. Should I bring out the forms? Should I fill out the forms? And boy, this form doesn't really seem to fit what she wants to do, but okay, I need to use the form because there's boxes to fill in, and it's all those things that are like, I'm trying to, and then I'm hearing you guys say, oh no, it's a guide. It's what's good for you and the teacher. It's how you want to grow. I'm like, okay, that's what I want to hear. And I'm going to use it as a guide. And so it's been a growing experience for me in that I have to relax, to know that those things are no longer expected of me. And it's good because that's the way I want to go. I want it to be reflective, and I want teachers to look at what's meeting the needs of their students and what do they want to do. But at the same time, I'm going to go back to the TIN thing, is that I mentioned about putting it in a Google form that I would fill out while I'm working with the teacher, just so that I can really help her, because she's kind of the teacher I'm working with right now. There's only one. She's kind of all over the place, and she's really excited about integrating technology, but I want to get her to focus. And so I figure if I use that checklist on my end, she doesn't need to know I'm looking at it, but kind of look at it and say, okay, so where do you see your students? What would you like for them to do? And I can fill this checklist out on my own because I'm still that detailed person. So it'll help me focus where I can guide her to get to her goal. So anyway,
Yeah.
it was just, I just appreciate that you guys are saying, yes, it's a guide, and yes, we need the reflection bit. I'm like, oh, okay, I can relax.
I would totally agree with you that I think I was kind of really stressed when I first started the program about that. I thought I had to do this, and it was all new to me. And I was trying to do everything. And then I realized, no, it's about adapting to your learners, teachers, and making the best of it for them and reflecting with them. And that really worked for me. So totally agree with you 100%. It's about reflecting and improving with your teachers. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to write down. Frances said it was okay.
No, not me, but that's just that's how I felt about it. And yeah, thank you. Brilliant. So has anybody else got anything to say on that last question, or shall we move on to the last question, which is question 5, because I'm aware that we're running out of time, or we will be shortly. So question 5 was about inspiring examples. What are some examples of innovation, some inspiring examples of innovation in education that you're proud of or have witnessed? And what advice would you give to yourself 5 or 10 years ago to encourage you to jump out of your comfort zone? Would anybody like to kick us off? I know we've got some great ideas in the slides.
I can kick us off. For me, thinking 5-10 years ago, starting that tech position, just being a tech teacher for K-8, I had around 700 students that first or second year technically, our first year full time. And a big thing I wish I knew then and that I know now is you don't need to master the tools before using them. And that a lot of the learning is going to happen live with the students, and them seeing the mistakes that you or them make is learning. Because I was such a perfectionist, I wanted to make those intense lesson plans that you learned in college that you never use in the real world. So I wish I knew that, especially starting a tech position. And there is a master's degree in Michigan for technology, but there's no bachelor's. So I left college, couldn't get a job in 2010, was subbing, and then just landed this position because I had an online portfolio that a district found. And I didn't have the background, so I just knew tech very easily. So I just wish I knew that.
Brilliant, thank you. Go on, Raf, did you have something to add to that? No, nothing? How about you, Jerry?
Well, yeah, I kind of wish the younger me hadn't, said, oh, well, that tool's not working because the kids didn't use it right, and then just stop using it. That I'd use that opportunity to guide the students and myself and to keep at it and to stick with it. I remember using Edmodo and the kids, were saying something I thought was rude. And I thought, oh, you guys are being mean. I'm shutting it down. And no, this would have been a great opportunity. And it really kind of ruined my relationship with my middle schoolers, because if I had just kept up with it and trusted them in our relationship. So just letting some of these tools work through and giving it some time, I think. And using it to guide behavior. I think that would be a good one. So keep being a risk taker, but don't shut it down. Stick with it is what I would have told myself.
Yeah, totally. I get frustrated. Lots of our students are on mobile phone, and our teachers, they move on so quickly, and the students haven't had time. And so the teachers then just dismiss the mobile phones. It's like, no, they will get it, but just give them some time. Oh, thank you. Stephanie, go on. I can see you've got loads to say on this one.
Me? One thing that I find so ironic, I don't know what the difference is in school and then real world, but in the real world, we've been forced to move on and innovate. Just think about how much we do with online banking, how cars have changed with new technology. And we do that with no problem. But then I go into a classroom and the teacher's like, oh, I'm not techie. So we started this thing where if you do something with technology, guess what? You are techie. No matter how small it is, you're techie.
Yeah. Thank you, especially right now. Thank you. Go, Melissa.
No, I just like Stephanie's example, because I have teachers say that all the time. Well, you know, I'm not very techie. I'm not very techie. I'm like, does your car have electronic locks? You know, that's something that I could bring up. You know, you made a really great point. Or, you know, do you have a remote for your television? You know, do you have a cell phone?
Yeah, thank you. Elizabeth, did you want, because we haven't heard from you yet, would you like to add anything before we finish?
I'm so sorry. I have my daughter with me, so she may or may not let me get a statement in. I think one thing I would have told myself back in the day, it seems like once technology became more and more important, it's like every new thing that came out, they wanted us to try. And so for me, it became overwhelming to the point to where, okay, so what should I try and keep going with? And so I kind of got into the cycle of, I'll try it. If it doesn't work, I'll just give up on it, which was not the thing to do. And so I think my younger self didn't know how to balance all of the different types of technology and tools that were coming out. And so I think kind of what you all were saying before, how SAMR and TPEC, how they are guidelines. It's the same thing with technology. There's lots of great tools out there, but you don't have to use everything. Kind of find what works for you, and you know, be willing to give it more than one try. But that's pretty much what I would have told my younger self. You don't have to do everything that's out there, but definitely give it a good shot, whatever it is that you're trying. Yeah. So I think that's all I'll be able to say before my daughter.
Really important. Thank you. Great
You're
point.
welcome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, would you like to say anything?
I just, I would have told myself, you know, just because I'm introverted and really shy, I would have told myself that you can step out of your comfort zone and you can become a leader if you're passionate about that thing that you're doing. You know, put me at a party where, you know, I don't know anyone and technology or library media stuff is not the topic and I can't do it. But put me in a room full of educators and, you know, ask me, you know, how do I do this? I can do that.
Brilliant. Yeah, excellent. I know exactly what you're saying there. Perfect. So would anybody else like to say anything before we go? Because I'd like to finish on time because, well, it's very late for me, but I know you're all really busy, so I don't want to keep us over time.
Frances, I want to thank you for moderating for us. It's like 11 p.m. your time. This was wonderful, and I love seeing so many new people here. So thank you so much for moderating. I'm so happy you all came, and I'm looking forward to 2 weeks from now. So,
yeah, I'm really happy that you all came. It was great to read all your contributions in the slides. I felt like I was getting to know you and more about your system, which is kind of really different from mine. So all of this stuff when I first started was really new for me. So it's great to go over it again and great to hear some of the things that you're talking about are similar to the reflections that I've gone through. So thank you so much for coming. It's been brilliant. Thank you.